It's Lawrence again, part 4 here. I'm sorry this is taking a little bit longer than I thought it would, but there's so many different ways to get patterns and make patterns and do things. I wanted to show them to you. So here I've gone to the Carvewright website. Here's the software that's available. The Project Designer is included with the Carvewright. Centerline text is what I already showed you. It's where you can actually use V-groove bits or other types of bits and draw like a pencil on a piece of paper. Again, where the thinner fonts will have nice fine shapes on them and things like that. If you saw my Jefferson sign that I did the other day, that one was done using centerline text. It's a really valuable tool. It's 99 bucks. Conforming vectors, basically it's $50, and I can show you here in a minute, but all it does is it allows you to take a pattern, like say that eagle or those cranes, or if you have a pattern of that ball, for example. In fact, let's do that. Let's go the ball back. And what it does is it lets you actually write in conforming vectors on that ball. So, example right here, you can do Billy, but that's a really crappy font. So, and you can go in there and centerline, and you can put the word Billy on top of this ball. And as long as you have conforming vectors, then it actually lets you draw onto this. So, for example, it lets you write on a name on a baseball bat. And if you didn't have conforming vectors, it wouldn't allow you to do that. So that's that real quick. So the pattern editor, which is what comes with the probe, it's basically like Photoshop Lite for 3D patterns. You can go in there and you can adjust patterns and things. I have it. I love it. I'm not going to go into this in this video. Make sure it's recording. Hold on. Okay, it was recording. So the next one down is the STL importer and the DXF importer. They're $199 each. Now, if you wait around for holidays and whatnot, you can usually catch these pieces of software at 10% off. You don't have to get these to begin with. I just want to show you some of the capabilities they add on. What Carvewright's done, and again, I don't work for Carvewright, guys. I'm a fan. I'm a customer. I don't get paid anything for making these videos, or for, if I sell 1 million Carvewrights, I don't make a penny. And what these do is they just add on extra capabilities. And what happened was they created the designer that came with the Carvewright. All the updates for designer are free. And so when a new version of designer comes out, it doesn't cost you a penny. You just get all the updates. Unlike a lot of software out there, we have to pay a lot, quite a bit of money to get the software updated. And then when they have new features that come out on the software, instead of making you either rebuy the software or just be SOL, what they've done is they've made them as add-ons, so that if you choose to have that feature, then you can pay for it. And these have all come after the original software was designed. So again, I don't want to take too much of your time here, but I'll show you a couple different ways that you can use some of these things. So now for DXFs and STLs. STLs, simply put, it's a 3D format. I don't want to go into it too much here to where I'm taking too much of you guys' time, but you can go into something like the Google 3D Warehouse or a million other sites out there that have models either for sale or for free. If you put something in the Google 3D Warehouse, for example, it's free and you release it as royalty free. That's just the way it works. Now, obviously, you can't put copywritten information on stuff on here, but that kind of makes sense. So here, let me find this one. Let me just find a simple thing. Let's see. I know I'm a liberal, but let's make you gun nuts happy. Let's go with a 9mm of some sort. There's a million different 9mm in here. There's a mini Uzi 9mm that someone did a pattern of. Again, this is just on the Google 3D Warehouse. So let's go in there and download this this file. And I'm going to go ahead and open it up. All this is free at this point, guys. This file didn't cost anything. Google SketchUp, in case you haven't used it, is free. There's lots of woodworking stuff on there. You can get lots of files for things. It's pretty neat. So what you can do at this point is you can go in there and you can export. This is a 3D model. I'm going to go ahead and put it on my desktop just to make it easy to follow right now. And now we're done with Google SketchUp. I just exported it to my top. So now what I'm going to do is go into my desktop. and find where it went. Here it is right here. And I'm going to open it with MeshLab, which is another free program you can download. It's not related to Carvewright. It's just a free program. It's not pirating or stealing or anything like this. You can just go onto MeshLab, Google it, and then you find it, and it's free. So, and there's your Uzi right there. The reason I use MeshLab is what it does is it allows you to export into an STL, which is the format that the Carvewright can understand. And once that's done, I can open my Carvewright software back up, and I can go File and import into an image file like we did for the silhouette and for other things. I can import an STL file. Now you can try this out for free if you buy the Carvewright, but it doesn't let you carve. So here's our STL that we did. What it does is it imports this STL. And now you can go in there and you can see that there's our Uzi, and now it's in the Carvewright software. So now we can take this and quite simply slice it into pieces. It's a 3D model here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and make sure you guys understand this. And it's called Mini Uzi 9mm. I feel like I should add a yo on the end of that or something. And hit create. Now there's a lot more things you can do in between step A and step Z here that I just did that I haven't showed you to clean up the model or whatever else, but that's okay. I think it was called Mini Uzi, right? Mini. And it's not coming up with it. There it is. It's in my favorite. So here's Mini Uzi 9mm. So here's section 1, and here's section 2. So I can go into section 1 and actually bring it in and center it on both sides. And you can see it's going down 0.508 of an inch. So let's go ahead and just for grins here, let's make the thickness of our board a whole inch. So now we're going to have this carving a half an inch deep. So now the next thing we can do, we're on the front of the board right now, is you can go ahead and copy it, go to the rear of the board, paste it. We're going to go ahead and flip it around. Make sure I'm doing this right. I sure am. It's going a half an inch deep right there too. Outline the pattern just like we did the wings on the first one. We're going to go ahead and yeah, it's got some texturing and things in there that are going to make this to where it's not going to work for an outline. But again, we could have, in that thing where I said from A to Z, there's a lot of things you could do. These are some of them. So if you look right there, this would carve out, and it'd carve out this Uzi in a 1-inch thick piece of board, and it would actually look like an Uzi. And that's just, you know, this is just a pattern, one of however many hundreds of thousands of patterns on a Google SketchUp website. There's lots of STL images out there. I made some for hand plane totes for free, and I put them on Google SketchUp, and there's a lot of other things you can do with them. Okay, so that's STL. Last but not least, the thing I want to show you is the DXF importer. Now, before I showed you vectors, I showed you how you could do squares and how you could do connected lines and other things like that, and that's very cool. However, it can get very tedious to do really intricate shapes with the vector drawing tools that we have here. So what they did was they came up with an import tool for DXF, which is another standard type of format that's used for laser engravers. It's used for other types of CNC machines. The most common type is you see these puzzles like this that are made. So I'm going to go ahead and import a DXF. And if I can find one, I will do so. So if you look here, I've got all my DXF files in here. I just want to find an example one to show you. Here's the scorpion. So here's the scorpion that I did. Traced it out, and I think I probably used Corel Draw. Or you can just find them to download. And you can go in there and you give it a board, and you hit finish, and it imports that DXF file. And it imports all those lines as vectors. So the nice thing about that is you can go in there and add a bit to it and actually have it be a pattern or something like that. And the really nice thing about this is instead of going back and forth as a carving, which can actually take a really long time, when you do things as a DXF like this, it's like a pencil on a piece of paper when it carves it out. So anyway, that's DXF Importer, and that's about all I have time for tonight. There's a whole lot of other features and things you can do, and a lot of ways that I make patterns with free software. Blender is one out there that's free. It was built by a bunch of guys, I think at a college, and they released it for the world to use. It's kind of like Google SketchUp has released this 3D format for people to use. And you can go in there and you can actually create 3D objects with this. Google SketchUp is an amazing tool, not just for laying out and seeing your woodworking projects, but also for doing like what you just saw, where someone did an Uzi. And I mean, when I say there's a million things on Google SketchUp, there really is a million things on Google SketchUp. If you type in Roubo, you get Roubo's book stand, you get Roubo's workbench, you get Roubo. There's a million other type of things you get. Excuse me. In fact, I created some Roubo book stands in my Carvewright and used them that way. So again, I don't want to take you guys' time up too much, or mine for that matter, but I just want to show you some of the different ways that I do things. And there's so many features that I haven't showed you how to do. If you're building a cribbage board and you know how tough it is to drill things, you can go in here and you can use your drill tool, and you can say use the 1/8 inch bit, and I want it to be 1/8 inch or even a 1/16 inch bit. Use 1/16 inch holes, and I want it to be a depth of 2/10 of an inch. And you can go through and you can create that hole, and it's going to do it right where you want to do it, especially when you use the snap grid function. It's going to go right on that. If you want to create holes, you can Control C, Control V, just like you do with anything else, copy and paste, and you can create holes in the board right how and right when you'd really want to. So right there, I just created. It's hard to see. So right there, I just created, those 8 holes, and they're going to be completely, perfectly aligned. And it took me all of 20 seconds to do, and I could line them up how and where I want to. So again, the number of things you can do with this software, as it comes straight out of the box, are pretty amazing. So thanks again, and I hope this was interesting to you. If you want more videos, as I have time, I don't mind talking about this kind of thing and showing you guys. I think I answered all your questions. Let me double check real quick. Arlen, if you picture always puts a border. I showed you how to get rid of that. How do you make a picture of a scan better in areas or clean it up? And do you use a squaring board on the cardboard? I answered this one. I answered this one. Let me go to scan better in areas or clean it up. And this is where I told you that when you buy the probe, when you buy the probe, you get the pattern editor, and I said it's sort of like Photoshop for patterns. You can go into any pattern you want. Let me find one here. I got this one right here. You double click on the pattern, and it brings up this, which is the pattern editor. And this only comes when you pay for it. And you ask how you clean it up. You can see, for example, in this pattern, you got some spots right here where the car, it's not cleaned up. It's got little bubbles on it. And you can see right here where they are. And again, I told you before that it's all based on color. Different colors get different heights. So all you have to do is go in there and just like with what's the word I'm looking for? With a paint shop or anything like that, you can go in there with your mouse and you can clean up these spots. I don't want to take too much time. But you can see where it filled in that hole. And then you can even go in there and then blur it in a little bit so it's smooth. And again, you're just blurring colors. And you can see it's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. It's got a It's no longer got a big hole right where it was. And that's how you clean up patterns. The easiest way to clean up patterns is with the pattern editor tool. It's very easy, very intuitive to use. Don't mind showing you. And it comes with the probe, and I highly recommend it. I've only used the probe half a dozen times. I use the pattern editor constantly. So anyway, guys, thanks again. If you have any more questions, just plug them in there. I'll make another video. It takes me 10 minutes to do this. And you guys have a great night. Bye-bye.